have met with a terrible fate, haven't you? Hello, and welcome to Darkest Timelines, where we try and ruin all of our collective childhoods by looking far too deeply into some of gaming's weirdest fan theories. Today, we're donning our green hat and smashing pots like they're going out of fashion to look at the darker side of Nintendo's Legend of Zelda series. So, while there's a host of theories out there, such as Link's schizophrenic sister and Mario being a stage play set in Termina, one of the most popular is from Majora's Mask. This theory posits that Link dies at the very start of the game and spends the rest of his adventure coming to terms with his own passing. Let's look at those facts. Number 1. Time is a circle. Let's start simple. Set in Termina, Majora's Mask takes place over 3 days, as the moon slowly comes crashing towards you before it ultimately collides and destroys everything. Then you wake up at the dawn of the first day, ready to do it all over again. In simple terms, the time loop premise could be seen as purgatory. Much like Tom Cruise's movie career, Link is forced to repeat the same events over and over until he accepts his death and moves on. Then there's the name, Termina, which, if we chuck an L on the end, becomes terminal. This could mean a waiting point to travel on, or quite literally terminal as in the end, dead, game over, whatever you want to call it. RIP Link. Number 2. Haven't I seen you before? Speaking of Termina, the townsfolk are very familiar and share more than a passing similarity with the townsfolk you would have met in Ocarina of Time. This could mean a couple of things, but either way, it's not looking good for Link. On the one hand, Link could simply be manifesting the faces of people he met during a significant moment in his life before passing, or these townsfolk could also have died during the events of the previous game. Number 3. Red Kubler-Ross. Now this is the most compelling part of the theory. If you're not familiar with the Kubler-Ross model, it simply states that those going through grief go through 5 main stages: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and finally acceptance. The theory goes that these 5 stages are reflected in each of the zones you'll explore throughout Majora's Mask. Clocktown is denial, since everyone refuses to admit the moon will fall and instead chooses to pretend they're perfectly safe. Even Motto the Carpenter calls people cowards if they're at all scared. And to put the cherry on their delusional cake, the town's planning a big carnival. Because nothing says I'm fine like having a big party, throwing your hands in the air and going la 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 la.
This is fine.
Woodfall represents anger. The Deku King has lost his only daughter and has chosen to act completely normal and blame it all on a monkey who he ties to a tree and sentences to death, as you do. The monkey is, as you'd expect, completely innocent, and this is instead the Deku King acting completely irrationally and venting his frustrations. Snowhead introduces bargaining. You quickly meet Darmani, the Goron leader. Well, his ghost at least. Darmani has died, and in a desperate bid to undo his fate, he asks Link to save him, bargaining in all manner of ways to get what he wants. In Great Bay, we meet Lulu, a Zora who, after losing her eggs, which some could argue is a metaphor for miscarriage, resigns herself to living in isolation, unable to do anything but stand frozen, staring into the ocean. And finally, the Icana Valley represents acceptance, as it's literally called the Land of the Dead. Not only do you assist Sharp, one of 2 composer brothers, to accept his abhorrent treatment of his sibling, but you eventually unlock the Light Arrow before climbing or ascending a tower, which could easily represent Link's ascent into heaven. Number 4. Shades of Truth. Now, while this theory isn't and likely never will be confirmed, it does have some support from the official timeline. You see, Majora's Mask canonically comes before Twilight Princess. This is significant because in Twilight Princess you'll eventually face off against the hero Shade, who according to Hyrule lore is a reincarnated spirit of the Hero of Time, aka Link from Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. If we take this as fact, which we obviously are, then how did this happen? Well, according to the Kokiri, those who become lost in the woods are fated to become Stalfos, skeletal creatures trapped forever. If Link ventured into the woods at the beginning of Majora's Mask and died, it would logically follow that he'd become a Stalfos and live out eternity as a vengeful spirit. If this, along with the fact that he's also left-handed and fights much like Link, doesn't convince you, there's also this quote from Twilight Princess. Although I accepted life as the hero, I could not convey the lessons of that life to those who came after. At last, I have eased my regrets. Why would this hero have been unable to pass on his knowledge? If he'd defeated evil and time itself, what would be left to stop him? Unless he got lost in the woods, died, became a Stalfos and was forced to stay that way for eternity. The hero Shade even says, "Believe in your strength," which is something the masked salesman often said in Majora's Mask. Coincidence? We're not allowed to believe in those around here.
I just wonder what Ganon's up to.
Hopefully we've convinced you this theory holds water. more than the bend round one anyway. Ultimately though, whether it's true or not, it just goes to show how creative, complex and compelling Majora's Mask is as an instalment in the Legend of Zelda series. And that's it. Check back in with Darkest Timelines next week to see which other childhood favourite we're going to make you deeply suspicious of. And if you have any suggestions or thoughts on today's theory, let us know in the comments below. Bye!